Most common measure of central tendency that are used in dental sciences are mean, median, mode. Mean means arithmetic means, then median, that is a potential estimate, and mode, it is based on the frequency. Measure of center tendency or location attempt to quantify what we mean when we think of as the typical or average score or data set. In a data set, the concept is extremely important and we encounter it frequently in a daily life. For example, let's see one example. If we often want to know before purchasing a car its average distance per liter of petrol. Before accepting a job, we might want to know what is typical salary is for people in that position. So we will know whether or not we are going to be paid or we are worth or not. If you are a smoker, it's just an example. If you are a smoker, you might often think about how many cigarettes you smoke on average per day. Statistic towards measuring central tendency all focus on the concept of typical or average. We often ask questions in psychological science revolving around how groups differ from each other on average. Answer to such questions tell us a lot about the phenomena or process we are studying. So what is mean? Mean or average? It is the most widely used measure of central tendency. The mean is defined technically as the sum of all the data scores divided by n. That is the number of scores in the distribution. In a sample, we often symbolize the mean with the letter x with a line over it. If the letter x, then the mean is symbolized as pronounced, that is x bar. You can see the formula. So we use the letter x to represent the variable being measured. Then symbolically, and the mean is defined as with this formula. So what does mean? It is the simplest measure of central tendency. It is obtained by adding the individual observation and then divided by the total number of observations. The mean is calculated by using this formula. I already told. So where sigma, that sign you can see that sigma means the sum of xi is the value of each observation in the data and n is the number of observation in the data. It's clear? For example, the number of decayed teeth in a group of a children, suppose 10, aged between 5 years are as follow. For example, 2, 4, 1, 5, 2, 3, 4, so on. Then the mean of the number of decayed teeth of this group is calculated as n equals to 10, and then we will sum all the values. For example, it's come 26. Then what is the mean number of the decayed teeth is 26 divided by 10. That will obtain the 2.6. Let's see another example using the data where n is equal to 5. The value of x, suppose 5, 7, 6, 1 or 8. Then how will you get the mean? Mean is 5 plus 7 plus 6 plus 1 plus 8 divided by 5. Then we'll got the mean value, that is 5.4. This is another example for ungrouped data. This is the example shown, x equal to values. We have added all the values and divided by 10, n equals to 10, then we got the 2.8. And when the observations are many, the above method is very cumbersome. In this case, either use a calculator or use the frequency distribution table. Group data with single value for class interval is shown by this. Can be calculated by this formula. So there is some advantage and disadvantage of obtaining the mean. What is advantage? It is easy to calculate and understand. It is the most useful for all the averages. And what is disadvantage? It may be unduly influenced by the observed abnormal values. It may be unduly influenced by the abnormal values, and sometimes it might take or it might look ridiculous. So what is median? The median of a distribution is the value that cuts the distribution exactly in half, such that an equal number of scores are larger than that value as there are smaller than that value. The distribution of qualitative data do not have a median. The median is the medial value. Median is the middle value in a distribution such that one half of the unit in the distribution have a value smaller than or equal to the median. The median is the middle value in a distribution such that one half of a unit is the distribution. The median is the middle value in a distribution such that one value of a unit in the distribution have a value smaller than or equal to the median. One half of a value higher than or equal to a median. To calculate the median, all the observations are arranged in either ascending or descending order of their magnitude, and then the middle value of the observation is selected as a median. When the number of observations is even, the number of two middle value may be taken as a median. See, the median of a distribution is the value that cuts the distribution exactly in half, such that equal number of scores are larger than that value as there are smaller than that value. And how to calculate the median? The median is the most easy computed by sorting the data in the data set from the smallest to the largest. So the median is the middle score in the distribution. For example, the following numbers are visited to dentist by 10 patients in 1 year. Let's see, 13, 8, 4, 3, 5, 2, 8, 1, 7, and 5. And so for calculating the median, the number of first arranged in the order of magnitude is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, so and so on. Since 3rd and 13. Since there are 10 patients, the average of 5th and 6th patient is calculated as a median, which is 4 plus 5 divided by 2. That is 4.5 visit. Thus, it is seen that the median is potential average and it is not capable of a future treatment. Let's see another example. Suppose we have the following score in the data set, that is 5, 6, 7, 6, 1, and 8. And when we sorting the data 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what is the middle score? Middle score is 6. So what is the median? It is 6. It's simple. So half of the remaining score are larger than 6 and half of the remaining score are the smaller than 6. Now, there are some advantage, like it is not affected by the abnormal value. Like in median, it is affected by the abnormal value. This is the disadvantage of mean, that it is influenced by the abnormal value. But median, it is not affected by the abnormal value. Now what is mode? By the far the simplest but also the least widely used measure of central tendency is the mode. The mode in a distribution of a data is simply the score that occurs most frequently. So mode or the modal value, we can say, is that value in a series of observations that occurs with the greatest frequency. For example, if at the H8 eruption of the canine, that is 6, 6, 5, 7, 8, of 5, 7, and 8 for a children, the mode will be 6, since it occurs more often than any other. The mode is located from the frequency distribution table, taking the value of variable with the maximum frequency. There can be more than one mode for a series, and when the mode is ill-defined, it is calculated using the relation that is mode equals to 3 median minus 2 mean. So the mode in the distribution of a data is simply the score that occurs more frequently. One way of describing a distribution is in the terms of number of mode in the data. A unimodal distribution has one mode, and in contrast, a bimodal distribution has two. Now, this might seem odd. How can there be more than one most frequently occurring score in a data set? We would accept that a distribution in bimodal if it seems that more than one score or value stand out as occurring especially frequently in a comparison to two other values. And when the data is quantitative in nature, we also want to make sure that the two more frequently occurring scores are not too close to each other in value, where we accept the distribution as one that could be described as bimodal. There is some subjectively in a decision as the whether or not a distribution is the best characterized as unimodal, bimodal, or multimodal. So depending upon the nature of a data, the objective of the study, the appropriate measure of central tendency may be used. And the most commonly used measure in the arithmetic mean is the arithmetic mean. If there are extreme value in the series of data, median may be used. And if it is required to know the value that has high influence in the series, mode may be computed. Now, next, let's discuss about measure of dispersion or variability. Another important characteristic of a data set is how it is distributed, or how far each element is from some measure of central tendency, that is average. There are several ways to measure the variability of a data. Most common and most important is the standard deviation. So measure of depression helps to know how widely the observations are spread on the either side of the average. Dispersion is the degree of spread of variation of the variable about the central value. The most common measure of dispersion used in the dental sciences are range, mean deviation, and central deviation. And the most common and most important is central deviation. And there are three, that is range, mean deviation, and central deviation. There are several ways to measure the variability of the data. The most common and most important is standard deviation, which provide an average distance for each element from the mean. So measure of dispersion are range, standard deviation, coefficient of variation, and mean deviation. Now, what is range? Range is the difference between the highest and the lowest data element. Symbolically, range computed as you can see in the screen. This is not a reliable measure of dispersion because it is considered only the highest and the lowest value from the data set. So range is the simplest method, defined as the difference between the value of the largest item and the value of a smallest item. This measure gives no information about the value that lie between the extreme values, though this measure is simple to calculate. And it is not based on the item, and it's subject to fluctuation of considerable magnitude from sample to sample. So range is the difference between the highest and the lowest data element. It's not reliable measure of Dispersion because it considers only the highest and the lowest value from the data set. This slide is showing the example, that is characters and normal limit of that, just an example. Then comes mean deviation. It is the average of deviation from the arithmetic mean. It is denoted by the shown formula. So mean deviation is the average of a deviation from the arithmetic mean and given by this formula. When sigma is the sum of x is the arithmetic mean, that sigma, that symbol is a sigma is the sum of x is that what is the arithmetic mean, and xi is the value of each observation in the data, and n is the number of observation in the data. This is just an example. This is how to calculate the mean deviation by the given formula. Then comes a standard deviation. Standard deviation is what? It is the most common and the useful measure because it is an average distance of each score from the mean. The standard deviation is the most important and widely used measure of studying dispersion. It is also known as the root mean square deviation because it is the square root of the mean of the squared deviation from the arithmetic mean. Greater the standard deviation, greater will be the magnitude of dispersion from the mean. So the small standard deviation means a higher degree of uniformity of the observation. Okay, so you just have to remember this formula. So how to calculate the standard deviation? First, there are 5 steps basically. First is to calculate the mean of the series, that is x. Then take a deviation of the item from the mean, that is x minus x1. Then square this deviation and add them up, that is sigma. Then divide the result by the total number of the observation, that is n, and or n minus 1 if the sample size is less than 30. Then n minus 1 if the sample size is less than 30. Then obtain the square root and this will give the standard deviation. Okay. Now comes the coefficient of variation. It is used to compare the relative variability. It is denoted by CV and the formula is used is CV equals to SD divided by mean into 100. You have to just remember the formula. Now comes what normal distribution curve. Normal distribution curve. It is also known as the Gaussian curve, Gaussian curve, a Gaussian distribution. The normal distribution in sample is one of the standard distribution and its form a basic for the test of significance. When the data is collected from a very large number of people and the frequency distribution is made with a narrow class interval, the resulting curve is smooth and symmetrical and it is called as a normal curve. So in a normal curve, so first let's see the history. The normal curve was developed mathematically in 1733 by D. Morgan as an approximation to the binomial distribution. This paper was discovered in 1924 by the Carl Pearson. Laplace used the normal curve in 1783 to describe the distribution of errors. The normal distribution is the most used statistical distribution and the principal reasons are: normality arises naturally in many physical, biological and social measurement situations, or normality is important in statistical inference. Subsequently, Gauss used the normal curve to analyze the data in 1809. And the normal curve is often called as a Gaussian distribution curve, or simply the Gaussian distribution. The term well-shaped curve is often used in everyday usage. Normal moment. The normal distribution is characterized by two parameters, the mean and the standard deviation sigma. The mean is a measure of location or a center, and the standard deviation is a measure of scale or spread. The mean can be any value between infinity and the standard deviation, and it must be positive. Each possible value of mean and the sigma defined as a specific normal distribution, and collectively all the possible normal distribution defined as a normal family. Each possible value of sigma defined as a specific normal distribution, and collectively all possible normal distribution defined as a normal family.